It's spooky season again, and you know what that means. It's time for scary movies. I try to watch as many horror movies as possible during October, and I haven't gotten quite as many as I'd hoped to this year, but there are definitely some that are worth talking about. I love me a good slasher now and then, and who better to talk about than the shuffling stalker himself, Michael Myers. For this video specifically, I'm going to be comparing Halloween 2 from 1981 to Halloween Kills from this year, 2021. So you might be wondering, why compare these movies in the first place? Why not just, talk about the new one? Even though these movies take place 40 years apart from each other, there is a lot that they have in common. Both of these films are the second in their respective series, and Halloween Kills actually has a scene that is a flashback that takes place directly during the events of Halloween and Halloween 2 in 1978. It's also convenient that both movies take place directly after the previous one, and they both feature a wounded Laurie who, after her last encounter with Michael Myers, is taken to the hospital only to find out that Michael Myers is back at it again and has risen from the dead, as he is known to do. So yeah, I think it's fair to compare these two, especially because after the initial similarities, they go in very different directions, which leads to one being a worthy follow-up to the original and the other one being a bit all over the place. As I said before, Halloween 2 features a wounded Laurie who is taken to the hospital and is extremely paranoid that Michael is going to come after her again, rightfully so after what she's been through. Dr. Loomis, who is Michael's therapist from the first film, tries to warn the police that he just shot Michael Myers in the chest 6 times, and then this man fell out the window and got up again and is on the loose somewhere. The police are incredibly incompetent in this film, and they initially just tell Loomis that, you probably just missed every single shot in your gun, and that's why he survived. And then they go on to murder a 17-year-old kid who has a similar costume to Michael Myers, and then they just call it a day. Normally, when characters in horror movies are this incompetent, it's really frustrating, but I actually kind of like it in this movie because then you get the whole arc of Dr. Loomis where he has to hunt down Michael and go save Laurie at the hospital without any help from anyone else. Meanwhile, you have Michael Myers taking out every single person working at this hospital in an attempt to go after Laurie. The way he kills people in the original 2 Halloween movies is just what makes these movies so special. He's so slow and calculated, and he lures people in with opening doors slowly or making a noise on the other side of the room to distract them, and then he goes in to finish them off. Laurie manages to evade him for most of the movie, but this whole time she's slowly limping away as she's still injured, and the entire time she's being chased, you're left on the edge of your seat. And the way they end up taking him out in the end is also very clever. Dr. Loomis sacrifices himself so Laurie can escape and they can blow up Michael, finishing it once and for all, or at least that's what it seemed like. Now obviously he isn't dead because they gotta bring him back for the 20 other sequels, but if you look at this as a self-contained story with the first movie, it has a satisfying conclusion, unlike... Before I start ripping into this movie, I want to say some of the things I really liked about it because there definitely are some. First of all, the title of this film is not misleading in the slightest because Michael Myers does in fact kill, and he kills a lot. The kills and the gore are actually really awesome and are easily my favorite part of the film. They experiment with some pretty creative ideas for the kill scenes, and you don't really get that in the original movies, although you're kind of sacrificing it for all of the slow building tension, which is what makes the first 2 so good. The opening scene with the firefighters is one hell of a way to start a movie, but it is a bit inconsistent after that, pacing wise, but there are still some heavy moments. If I can say anything good about this movie, it's that I had a really fun time watching it in the theater. Well, until the ending at least. Now let's get into the stupid stuff. So, the main idea this movie gets into is the townspeople all ganging up to go hunt down Michael Myers and kill him. This honestly isn't a terrible idea when you first think about it, but the big problem here is that all of the characters in this movie are just flat out stupid. The most annoying character in the film, Tommy Doyle, goes around town rounding up everyone he can find with his stupid "Evil dies tonight" chant. He actually gets quite a few people together to help him, but instead of going around town together to hunt down Michael Myers and kill him, like they all said they were gonna do, they decide to split up into groups of like 3 or 4, and then they get into cars driving around town looking for him instead of doing it all together. The problem with this whole idea of having them all team up to fight him is that for a horror movie like this to work, you need to be able to get the characters separate so that Michael can kill them. So it doesn't make much sense for them to spend the entire movie talking about teaming up just for them to stay apart anyway and fight Michael by themselves, which leads to a bunch of them getting killed. There are 2 times where they actually do come together and work together to do something. The first is when they all bum rush a hospital and cause a mentally ill man to jump out of the hospital window and kill himself. Then you've got the final fight scene where all the townspeople circle around Michael Myers with their bats and their weapons, and they start wailing on him, which is actually pretty cool, but the way it ends just doesn't make any sense. For some reason, they have this whole thing where it looks like they kill him, and then they show all the cops and everybody in front of the Myers house seemingly victorious, but then it cuts back to the mob who's surrounding Michael Myers, who's now lying on the ground, and he gets back up. If all of the cops are there already, why has nobody went over to see if Michael Myers is actually dead? Or, put cuffs on him, or even, checked his pulse? Just something. Like, why are they all in front of the Myers house acting like they've won when the serial killer they were hunting all night is still lying on the ground and no one's doing anything about it? It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So why does Halloween 2 work and Halloween Kills doesn't? First of all, in Halloween Kills, Laurie is in the hospital for the entire movie doing nothing but spouting useless exposition. Meanwhile, in Halloween 2, you have Laurie who's active the entire time, running for her life as Michael is hunting her down. They try to explain why Michael isn't specifically going after Laurie anymore, but I didn't like this explanation very much, and if you take away all of Michael's specific goals, it makes him much less threatening and much less interesting. He's just going around killing people randomly, unlike in Halloween 2, where he's focused on Laurie specifically, and he's doing everything he can to get her, and taking out every single person that gets in his way. But the biggest difference between these 2 movies is that Halloween 2 has a satisfying ending, and Halloween Kills is only there to set up the next movie. The writers backed themselves into a corner, and then they had to rewrite it to find some way for him to survive and make it to the sequel. There's a lot of ways you can fix this movie, but honestly, I think the easiest thing they could do is just tweak the ending a little bit so they don't have this whole false victory scene that doesn't make any sense. Like, why couldn't they just have the mob take him out, and then, a minute or so later, he gets back up and kills them all? That's pretty much what happens anyway, but we just don't need anything between that. My rewrite for the ending would be so fun, so cheesy, and so fitting for Michael Myers. You have the mob take him out, and then you have everyone think that they won. The ambulance puts him in a body bag and takes him away. But then it cuts to the inside of the ambulance, and then you have him do his classic sit up from the dead routine and kill everybody in the ambulance. So do I recommend seeing Halloween Kills? Honestly, yes, I still do. Even though it was really dumb, I had such a fun time watching this in the theater. Will it hold up on rewatch? That I don't know. But will I be rewatching this anytime soon? Probably not. I'm still gonna give this movie a 5 out of 10. And if you're into horror movies or slashers, you're probably gonna like this, flaws and all. But if you have yet to see Halloween or Halloween 2, I definitely recommend checking those out before, because they are genuinely good movies. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought about Halloween Kills if you saw it, and once again, let me know if there's anything else you want to see me talk about. Bye.